Hello, everybody. Welcome on YouTube and welcome Instagram. It's Dr. Dion Napier with Amplified Vocal Studio. Happy Friday to everybody. Today, I want to talk about really to classical voice teachers why you feel like a phony when you teach pop music singers. I want to talk about that because I know that comes up. I know some of y'all feeling like that. I felt like that along this journey. And I want to just highlight some reasons why you feel like that. And then, of course, offer you solutions as we go. So welcome. Thank y'all for joining me this afternoon. If you want to just list where you're calling in from, where you're joining from, I would love to see that. But I'm going to go ahead and hop in. For those of you all who are new, I am Dr. Dion Napier. I am a voice coach and entrepreneur, and I primarily serve advanced level, classically trained singers and contemporary style performing artists who want to learn how to mix and belt or perfect their mix and belt so they can sing commercial music with ease and comfort and stuff like that. More so for the contemporary singers, they already kind of know these things. They just need to tighten up and get it, learn how to sing smarter, not harder. But for my classical singers, we don't know a lot about how to make modern sounds, okay? And we want to sing this pop music, but all we have is a bel canto technique. And so I am here to equip you with the tools so you can sing the commercial style music without sounding operatic. Okay, so let's hop in. Why y'all feel like a phony? Voice teachers especially. Why you feel like a phony when you got these pop singers? So here's the thing, right? You say you work at a university and you're getting musical theater students coming up in your studio. Or if you're an independent voice instructor and you got people messaging you, they're looking for voice lessons, but they're not trying to learn classical, right? The thought of that, your heart starts fluttering. You know what I mean? You feeling ill-equipped, like, ooh, I don't know how to do this, right? And either you kind of wing it through it, feeling insecure through the semester, because I think if you're in academia, you may not have a choice. And if you're an independent voice coach, you may just turn that student away and say, I'm not able to help you, so you losing money. So let's talk about this. The first reason you feel like a phony, this is obvious, is because you don't have the correct tools for the job at hand, okay? I used to sell Cutco knives actively, and I would always tell my clients, when you have the right tool for the right job, baby, you can get in and get out. If you don't really like cooking like that, if you love cooking, it just elevates the experience when you got the right tool for the right job, okay? And so a lot of us classical singers that went through the university program, we graduated and we just ain't got the right tools for the job at hand. We're not equipped with the contemporary style voice technique to know how to help singers that aren't trying to sing opera arias. And so here's what you don't need, okay? I'm just going to tell you really quickly as a voice teacher, when you're working or building a commercial style voice, you don't need to overemphasize breathing. Breathing is not that big a deal in commercial styles. It's a big deal in classical, but in commercial it's not. The second thing, you don't need to teach a tall palate, right? That classical tall palate sound. That's going to make your student have a dated, like an old dated kind of aesthetic. Classical opera singing, that's not a modern sound. That's a more traditional dated kind of sound. So if you teach them that, they're going to sound like that. It's also unnatural. It's awkward, and it can be a turnoff to students that aren't trying to sound classical. And if you keep going that way, they may just bounce out of your studio because they feel like you're trying to turn them into an opera singer. So you can't go in there teaching them this tall palette stuff like we do in classical, okay? And then the third thing that you don't need all classical vocalises. You got to diversify your vocalises, your vocal exercises. And I'll tell y'all, when I was first starting out, I got Cheryl Porter's tracks, and I still use those tracks to this day. Cheryl Porter's tracks are amazing. She comes from a classical background as well, but she writes her own tracks, and they're contemporary style, and they're like jingles, and they are perfect, okay? So your singer that is not trying to sing opera and stuff, that listens to pop, when they have those vocal exercises that are truly training their voice, but it sounds contemporary, they're more likely to stick in it, okay, in the training. All right, so that's the first reason you feel like a phony. You ain't got the right tools, okay? The second reason you feel like a phony is because a lot of times teachers, we are far removed from the pop sound aesthetics, and we feel left behind or a little bit out of touch. So y'all know, if you're going through a university program, academia likes to preserve tradition. Academia is slow to make progress and to make changes and to keep up with the trends that are happening in the industry, So if you've just been in that system getting your degrees and stuff, and then you got these students coming to you that are not from academia and they're wanting to learn this stuff, you can feel nervous because it's like, oh, I'm not even acquainted with those sounds anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know where to start. Or you just feel left out, right? Because you've been in this classical bubble and you're like, I don't really know what the style trends are for pop music now. Like, I don't know what's going on. That can make you feel uncomfortable. So again, that's where I would say find you some contemporary style vocal tracks. And even with that, just listen. Singers and voice teachers, you got to go back to developing your oral skills, but in a pop music context. Make a playlist. Get you a pop playlist. Get you an R&B playlist. Go make it on YouTube and just start listening again. Okay, that's one little tip that will help boost your confidence. Start listening again. Okay. The third reason why you feel like a phony is because you're forgetting the power of imitation. You're forgetting imitation. We don't imitate a lot in classical singing. Classical singing, learning it is very serious, and we've got these clear goals, and sometimes the fun can be removed from. I'm not saying it's boring learning classical music, because it can be fun to sing that too. But largely, especially when you are trying to check off the boxes to earn a degree, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't playing around. So singers and voice teachers, we have to remember the power of imitation. And I said, like, go back to your roots and imitate. Most of us, especially if you're an American singer, and a lot of times for non-American singers, the first music that you learned and the first music that you began to sing was not bel canto. It was not Western European. It was not classical music. It was American pop music. It was pop songs. So if you can go back to when you were a child and remember how you used to easily just sing this stuff that you heard, you had never had a voice lesson, no one taught you about the breath or the arpeggio or keeping stuff forward or around. You didn't know none of that as a kid. You were simply imitating the sound that you heard. And the thing is, if you can imitate it, you can do it. So as a teacher and as a classical singer, you got to go back and remember those days when you used to imitate as a child and start doing that again as a voice professional. Make those playlists of those pop songs that you like, that you feel connected to, and start mimicking. Imitate again, because if you can imitate it, you can do it. That's going to help you feel more confident as well, because again, when these singers are coming in here making these sounds that you're so far removed from and you can't demonstrate it, like, you feel like you out the count, you down for the count, but it doesn't have to be like that. So yeah, just start mimicking again. That's another thing. Okay, and then the final reason that you might feel like a phony is perspective. It's because you're seeing voice instruction intellectually and you're discounting your gut. Okay, you're seeing voice teaching and voice instruction intellectually and you are discounting your gut instinct. Okay, so here it is, the singers, like, and I get this because I was like this too. We go through the classical program or the university system, and it may not be spoken directly, but the idea is you go and you learn all this stuff, then you go teach it after you know everything, and after you become the expert, then you go teach it. So you're even approaching this, helping these commercial style singers with that mindset. But I want to encourage you, have a different mindset, okay? Instead of seeing it as teacher, expert to student, that I've got to pour all this knowledge in and get them up to my level. I want you to instead think of your relationship and the dynamic as being mentor and mentee, where you as the mentor are a few steps ahead of that singer that wants to learn. Do you know what I'm saying? And as you're learning, you're pouring. Okay, so we're learning and doing at the same time. You don't have to have all this knowledge. And I'll just tell y'all, when I started doing learning commercial style stuff, this was in the year 2000, and I had singers coming to me. I'm not turning you away, baby, because one thing about me, if I don't know, I'm gonna be honest and just say I'm not sure about that, but I'll get the answer and I'll come back and get it. I'm gonna find the answer. Or I'm just going to show up confidently knowing that I have something to offer this student that may be outside of direct voice. Because y'all voice teachers know voice lessons oftentimes are about more than just singing. Y'all know that. So you have to be encouraged and know that you are bringing value to this singer even beyond the voice. Even if you don't know the commercial stuff yet, even if you haven't started learning that, you can still bring value to these students. So you got to self-assess. Do you know what I'm saying? So just want to encourage you guys as teachers. But yeah, some of my first students, they were coming from church. They were singing worship style, but they wanted to study with me. And I was like, man, I am so far removed from that. I ain't even been singing in my church because I feel like my voice is stuck in a classical box. Like I was still there. But do you think I turned that student away? Absolutely not. I accepted that student in my studio. I showed up with confidence because I knew I had something to offer. And honestly, what I did, I started remembering the days years ago when I started singing, when I was singing in church as a kid, because that's how I started singing. I didn't start singing classical music. I started singing in church with no formal training, no nothing, just singing from my gut. And I started remembering those days. And then I had my Cheryl Porter exercises. So I would be at home just practicing mimicking with those Cheryl Porter exercises just to build my confidence and to recall that muscle memory, especially in that chest voice that was stripped because I sang classical for so long. I started to do that. And then I stepped up in there and I conducted that lesson. And that student grew exponentially. But was I an expert at teaching commercial style? Absolutely not. Was I still learning commercial technique while I was teaching it to another student? Absolutely, I did. But I had resources and I had human resources that I could connect with, that I could call, that I could ask, whatever. So that's the biggest thing, guys. Don't think because you haven't mastered all there is to know about commercial style technique that you are not able to teach these students, because you are. Okay, so what I want to tell you is, if you're feeling like a phony and feeling like an imposter, you do need resources and you do need to learn some commercial style technique. I'm not going to tell you to just go all the way off the gut and all of that. Like that has a big part of it, or that is a big part of it, but you absolutely need to invest and learn the commercial style vocal technique. So if you're a classically trained singer, an advanced level opera singer, if you are a voice teacher just starting out, or if you're a seasoned voice teacher, if you teach in academia, and like I said, you got these musical theater students coming to you and you feel like, I don't even know where to start. I want you to DM me the word mix on Instagram, and I'll drop the link in the description here on YouTube. Starting January the 11th, I'm hosting a 4-week live training course for classical singers and voice teachers, as well as contemporary vocalists, but I primarily focus on classical singers, okay? And it's called the Basics of Mix and Belt. Like I said, it's 4 weeks, and in that 4 weeks, I'm going to teach you terminology, okay? Because that's a big thing. Terminology. You can't go in there with all this bel canto terminology, all this Western classical terminology, talking to these singers that's not trying to sing classical. It's going to be over their head, and so it's going to be a disconnect. So you want to get the terminology, the language, okay, of the commercial style singing. And I have that, and I teach you that in my course. You're also going to learn yourself how to make these modern sounds, how to sound less classical. And the approach that I use is primal sounds. Primal sounds are human, pre-programmed sounds that all of us are hardwired to make, like sighs, like yells, like shouts, and like cries. Okay. And because I use the primal sound method, it locks you into getting a commercial music sound or a modern sound quickly. It don't take all day like in academia, honey. We are accelerating, okay? So if you're a classically trained singer and you know that you need this, if you're a teacher and you desperately need resources, you need a human resource, a person that you can connect with to help you as you're redeveloping and reestablishing your oral perceptions, as you're listening to your playlist and trying to identify, is this mixed voice? Is this vocal fry? Is this a heavy mix? Is this a balanced mix? You know what I'm saying? Is this a slide? Is this a textured mix? All these different terms that you may not be aware of, but you want to make sure you're learning it right. I'm your girl. So I want you to DM me on Instagram or click the link in my description to apply. We start January the 11th. It's all online via Zoom. We start January the 11th and registration closes on January the 9th. So don't drag y'all's feet. Don't come asking about, is there going to be one next time? Yeah, I'm going to keep rerunning it. But I'm talking to fast action takers, okay? I want y'all to be a one that acts now, okay? Because stuff is constantly changing. That's the thing with entrepreneurial people. You can't expect it to stay the same, just like in university. Honey, stuff is shifting, stuff is moving. And so if you're able to, okay, I know sometimes the timing is not right, but if you are able to, I want you to be a fast action taker and get in this course and get the skills that you need. Okay, I'm out of time. If y'all have questions, you can drop them in the chat. I'll come back and check it and send my responses. Other than that, I will see y'all next week and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.